there were still a few things to learn or take away from it. And if the online response was anything, a lot of people were angry about that game. So, Chris, angry or just whatever?
I think the biggest point for me around the whole game wasn't so much the manner in which we got beat or anything like that. I'm really not too harsh. Like, I've watched this Liverpool side win a Premier League and I had the day of my life last week. So I'm okay with that. And the lads have been on the ale and listen, everyone's entitled to enjoy themselves. And everyone's entitled to consume football however you want. For me, the season's over now. But I don't like Liverpool being beaten, and I don't like being beaten by Chelsea either, because I don't like that football club and what it stands for. But so for me, and I don't know whether you're the same, the people who were on the fringe of this first 11, they're the people I'm probably most disappointed in. The likes of, well, we made 6 changes today, didn't we? So you go Kwanzaa, you look at Endo, you look at Jones, you look at Harvey Elliott, you look at Diogo Jota, you look at Kostas Tsimikas was probably the 6th, wasn't he?
Yeah.
For me, I wanted those guys to step up and prove why they should be here next season. And probably the one that I'm most disappointed in, and this goes against sort of, well, we'll talk about them all, I suppose, individually, but I've wanted to see Harvey Elliott play the 10 and understand whether he can play the 10 for Liverpool and provide the defensive cover that we need and we get from Dominic Szoboszlai. And today, all right, it's a game in isolation. All right, the team was shit. All right, they were hungover. But clearly, Elliott couldn't get himself into the game enough on the ball. I don't think he was anywhere near enough involved. And for me, his being dragged out of position for that first goal, and then Enzo Maresca coming from his side and then driving into the penalty area suggests that I now understand categorically why he's not been playing for Liverpool this season. And that disappoints me, because I really want Harvey Elliott to be a Liverpool player forever and hit the heights that I think he can hit.
It's interesting though, because like, I see your point and I get it, and I wonder how much, like, we know, for example, Sunday they were out, Monday they haven't trained for a while, and there is a lack of competitiveness. And I think you are we expecting too much for the lads to be like on? Like, if Liverpool had to win this game today to be champions, the manager probably wouldn't have made as many changes. I understand that, but like, there must be something in football. Because I agree, a lot of the lads who came in didn't play well. Actually, a lot of the first team lads weren't great either. When you take like the need to win out of footballers against the side who need to win, does that explain sometimes the little drop-offs as well, where you don't quite have the engine or something in the legs? I don't know, you're not quite flying into that tackle, because a lot of the lads just seemed a little bit off in it. I think it's completely understandable. Yeah,
but if you take the goal that I'm talking about as an example, Harvey Elliott's not stood there doing nothing.
No, yeah.
Harvey Elliott's trying to chase the ball down and gets dragged out of position, which goes against the competitive side of things. He's trying to win the ball.
Yeah, okay.
He gets dragged out of position. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? So I get that. And equally, every player is going to react differently. I understand all that. But Endo had a fantastic game. And Endo's in there fighting for his life. Like, I can totally understand it, more so if it's the first 11. But these lads, all right, they've had a night out. That's it, though, really. They've had a night out. That's it. You know, one less training game. They've trained loads. Harvey Elliott hasn't played a lot of football this season. He has an opportunity. You have to think he wants to grasp that opportunity, because whatever the first teamers are thinking, he's got to think, this is how I get into this Liverpool side. I put a marker down here, and I don't think he did that today. No, and I think that's fair to say for most of them as well, to be fair.
No, I agree. I'm with you. I think it's I just don't know how much you put into it in terms of like, because it was effectively a dead rubber for Liverpool. Like, for example, the Plymouth game was more disappointing because that was a game they had to try and win and underperform. Like,
definitely, 100% agree with you.
And there was a lot of people, again, I'm reading online, like, you know, this shows the fringe players aren't quite up to it. I think it's difficult in a side that have made 6 changes when they've already won the league. I don't know how much you can take away, but we can look at some individuals. We might as well start with Harvey Elliott and his stats, Chris, because he got given a 5.9 from who scored, a 6.6 from SofaScore, and a 6.1 from FOTMob. He is one of the ones who's been desperate to play more this season, and we've all been looking at Harvey going, he deserves more minutes. Is he the one, when you're looking at him, not just his performance, but actually the way he plays the game, maybe it does explain a little bit why he hasn't been trusted more, because you mentioned the goal, he kind of gets dragged out a little bit. There's a moment shortly after where him and Trent kind of get in each other's way. That right-hand side job, especially with Mo Salah, who just openly admitted last week the manager tells me not to get back and stuff, that is one where I think not so much performance level from Harvey, but the way he plays the game might not just suit in the way that the bigger picture of Liverpool is set up, especially with Salah over there.
Yeah, I agree with that, and I don't think there's anything wrong to say that. But you've got to try and show that you can fit in.
Yeah.
You've got to be better, haven't you? Ultimately, and listen, I don't mean to be harsh on Harvey here in any way, shape, or form. What I'm trying to say in this entire conversation, more than anything, is I expected the lads who were on the fringe to want to perform today, and so I think they've left themselves open for this line of conversation by their performances. And I think, I don't necessarily 100% agree with the fact that you can judge all of them based on this. I really don't, Steve. But I understand why the conversation's going on, because they have been given an opportunity and they were largely crap. So I think, people are going to fill a void with noise, and the noise for me, and the most disappointing thing about this game, is actually not the defeat. I can handle the defeat because we're league champions. It's just the fact that none of them grabbed the opportunity, when I know if I was in that shirt, no matter what, I would be trying to grasp that opportunity if I'd been on the fringes all season long.
Oh, not then, because I want to talk about Jarell Quansah next, because I don't know, maybe it's me, or maybe I'm wrong. I thought he'd had an alright game. Like, he'd read some situations well, he'd defended some situations well. He gets the ball whacked off him, effectively off his bollocks, into the goal, and then he gets given an absolute hospital pass at the end of the game and concedes a penalty when he has to go for that ball because Casado's getting there and Liverpool are losing, they need to get the ball back. If we look at Jarell's ratings here, 5.9, 5 and a 5.1. There's a lot of talk about Liverpool and centre-backs next year and where Jarell fits in that mould and where he lies in the pecking order. The reporting is Liverpool are happy with him, want to keep him. They've just signed him to a new contract. How did you think he did overall? Because those ratings are obviously impacted by, again, someone doing the own goal and the penalty. But secondly, it can't be doing his confidence any good, because at this moment in time, I don't know if he's cursed or he's I don't know what it is, but it's not the first time where someone's just whacked the ball off him and it's gone in, or he's been caught out or something, you know what I mean? I wonder where his head's at.
He feels like a fella or a lad who is just completely lacking confidence now.
Yeah.
And I feel sorry for him, because I know there's a good player in there, but this season's just not gone to plan. Like, he needs to probably go away, in the off season, work his absolute bollocks off to try and get up to shape, and probably more than anything, he probably needs some kind of mental sort of reset, in that fresh start next season, all that type of stuff. A bit like New Year for some people, not the majority, because the majority just sack it off after a week or so. But I think that's the thing, and I do have concerns about him, because I think he's a really talented player. I think he's got the physicality. I think he's got sort of God's gifts, as it were, in terms of his stature and everything else. I think he's fast enough. I did have concerns when he first broke through that he wasn't. I think he's proved me wrong there, definitely. But the mental side of the game, sometimes it's difficult to come back from those mistakes and feeling like you're cursed, like you've just said it there as well. So I agree with you, though. I think he had a decent game, apart from those two absolute howlers, which it can happen to anyone, that.
And they're not even his howlers. That's the problem. I think, again, Van Dijk just kicks the ball at him. That it's more a Van Dijk error and actually a Tsimikas error than it is because he gets beat more than Quansah. Endo does really well and Quansah just gets the ball whacked at him, and at the end it's just a terrible by Szoboszlai. I feel harsh on him, but like I say, sometimes bad things just, like, again, West Ham
happen to good people.
Well, West Ham, I hope someone just kicks the ball off him in the League Cup and it goes in. That was it this year. You had, I think, at Brighton when it kind of cannons in off him. I don't know, like, is that coincidence or the bad things happen because he's not in the right place or something's not right? I don't know. But it does look like when in off him, and then when he gets the penalty away, he just looked like a lad who's like, you know what, why always me? It's like he smashed mirrors, walked in front of black cats and walked under ladders. Like it felt like really hard on him, and I felt really sorry for him.
But do you think, like, if you're thinking about the centre backs next season, I think everybody wants Liverpool to sign a centre half. Is Jarell Quansah at the level that he's played at this season, not just taking this game into account? Is he good enough to be Liverpool's third choice centre-half next season for you?
Third, I would like one better than him, I think. Well, he isn't third now. That's the thing. Gomez is above him, isn't he? The pecking order, he's always injured. I think he's got a lot of talent, and I wouldn't just write him off. So I think he's of the level where he has. He's fourth choice, and he comes in for certain games. I think I'm fine with that. But you are right. The idea is to develop him into something better. I think he can be something better. I still question, like I say, I thought he had a good game. Positionally, sometimes he does get caught out. There's no doubt about it. But he's a young 20-odd-year-old centre-half. So it's difficult. But yeah, I think today he'll walk away and it'll look like Jarell Quansah scored an own goal and Jarell Quansah give a penalty away. And the cold hard facts are that is true. But that doesn't reflect his overall game. I thought there was way worse players than him. Like most of the attackers, most of the midfielders who started that game, I thought were much poorer than him. It's just sometimes footy is just a cruel game. On the, I suppose the other rotational players. Then
before we move on, though, we've been linked with Dean Huijsen.
Yeah,
20 years old, 2 years younger than Jarell Quansah. I think, yes, he's young. Yes, he's inexperienced. But there's a lad playing in the Premier League who's 2 years younger than him, who looks much more composed, and a lad there who looks like he's got a much higher ceiling than Jarell Quansah. Do you think that's fair?
Yeah, the composure thing, I do think. Again, I haven't seen, if Jarell Quansah played 38 games for Bournemouth, would we think better of him? I don't know.
Good point.
Yeah, I don't know is the answer. I like Housen. I think he's a good player. Huijsen, I think he's a good player, and I can see why Liverpool are interested in him. I think he's probably going to go to Chelsea because he wants to play footy. I think I'm happy with Quansah as fourth choice. If Gomez leaves, I don't think I'm quite comfortable with him as next in line yet.
You'd guess that Gomez is going to.
He nearly left last year, didn't he? So you'd be one of them. You'd be surprised if he didn't. But yeah, I just feel hard lines on Jarell Quansah sometimes. So he's got everything there. I just hope this isn't killing his confidence because it shouldn't be. You know,
and we've seen that happen with young players at Liverpool before when they've been overplayed and stuff like that.
It can get too big for you. On the again, you saw the fringe players. The manager changes his whole midfield per se. I thought Endo was pretty good.
Yeah.
How do you think Endo got on?
Yeah, I thought he was our man of the match, to be honest with you. Obviously, Van Dijk will be in there, of course, because he gets a goal and all that type of stuff. But I thought that clearance off the line from Endo was tremendous. Absolutely superb. His ability on the ball continues to surprise me 2 years in. Because he's just so much better on the ball than you think, and he goes forward. He was dropping into the number 10 position at times, wasn't he, Endo? So for me, I've got no question marks about Endo, but he's also the oldest of those players, and I don't know, man. He's not a long-term solution, is he? But he's a good squad player, is Endo, and I'm confident that if he was around next season, I'd be more than happy with having Endo in our squad.
See, I think what I learned from him today, I think it was hard to learn too much from that game, if I'm honest, but Endo in the advanced areas doing the things that the manager, we were told once of his number 6, and was one of the reasons he was looking maybe at getting in a Zubimendi, maybe Endo was subject of bids and stuff. I thought I was more impressed. I always know Endo can defend. His defending for the own goal isn't brilliant. He stops a certain goal. There was other challenges he won. I was more impressed with him on the half turn and getting into those attacking areas and making runs into the box. That's where you could tell maybe he's been coached, and he isn't an older player in his 30s, but he looked more like Ryan Gravenberch, how he plays the 6th, than maybe Endo looked at the 6th last season.
Yeah, 100% agree with that, mate. Yeah, he is good on the half term, and he plays some nice incisive passes going through the lines and stuff as well, doesn't he? So he's a good player, no concerns. Obviously, the other one is probably Curtis Jones, isn't it, Steve? Because it was just crap, wasn't he?
Curtis did not have a great game at all. Just for clarity, I can have a little look. He got a 6.3. He got a 6.4 and a 6.8. And see, I think Quansah was better than him.
Yeah.
And because Quansah has those two statistical moments, the stats things don't work it out quite as well. But yeah, Jones ironically looked better defensively than on the ball. On the ball, he looked like he had a bit of a stinker.
Yeah, I mean, he only had 94% pass completion today, so he's had a shocker. But he gave a couple of really easy passes away, and we kept falling over, and they kept scoring from it, and all that type of stuff. He had a really tough game against Palmer. He was dragging him all over the place, wasn't he? Palmer was the best player on the pitch by a country mile, I thought, and Curtis come up against a better player today, and that's not good to see. And I like Curtis Jones. I think he's a fantastic footballer, but today was probably one of the worst performances I've seen him make.
And to clarify, like I say, to wrap up rather, Chris, it is. It's one of them. It's about like what we learn from these certain players on that. How much can you take away from today genuinely? Because I go back to it. It is like effectively a game against a side who have to win. Who are a good side away from home, Champions League on the line against a side who have wrapped up the league. I don't know. I'm not sure you can just make too many massive judgments either way. Like, there's people saying that just shows how bad the squad is and how many signings we need. Do you go along with that, or do you think, you know what, that's hard to say in a game today where it is lacking that little bit of edge, where they have just become champions, where, you know, Liverpool can see the third goal and at full time our starting centre half dancing in front of the away end. Like when you flick that switch of mentality away, I don't know the answers. Why I'm asking you. I'm not sure.
No, I don't think anyone does. You can only ask a professional footballer. I know from personal experience when I'm playing again, when something's done and dusted and you're playing a game, it's not there. And I'm a really competitive person. Like, I just don't have that sort of edge to me anymore. And this might be in cards, it might be in board games, it might be in sport. I'm the same in all of it. And I always have been. These lads are elite footballers and I'm just, nothing compared to them. And they've got elite mentalities. So I imagine, and you said something to us before, that when you take the difficulty to get to where you've got to in the Premier League and the quality in the Premier League, and you take that edge away when someone else has got it and they're fighting for Champions League football, the likelihood is that anybody could beat you. Like, not just the team that's playing for Champions League football, but genuinely anybody, because the difference between the great sides and the good sides and any side in the Premier League, it's not that much. It's really not. These players are all so similar in ability levels, but it's the mentality that puts them over it. Everyone can kick a ball from the spot. Everybody can play the pass that another player, for the most part. 99% of the league can play the same passes as each other. Yeah. 99% of the strikers in the Premier League can hit the same shots as each other. But doing it under pressure is the mental side of the game, and that's, I think, the difference. You can have the most skillful player in the world, but if he hasn't got that mentality, so if you take that mentality away for the game, you're going to find that it looks like this. Yeah. Now, the difference for me is I ain't going to throw the baby out with the bathwater. I've had a fantastic season. I've enjoyed every fucking second of it. No matter the wins, the losses, whatever, we've had a fantastic season. We've won the Premier League for the 20th time. We've established ourselves, that we already are, but we've established ourselves conclusively as the greatest football side that this country has ever produced. At
least this year.
No, we have. It's done. Like, it's done. They can win the Europa League. Don't matter.
20-6.
20-6 is where it matters, isn't it? So for me, I'm not going to throw the baby out the bathwater, but if the same performance gets put in for the next 3 games, it's going to take a massive shine off it. Like, I will never forget the season that we've had, but I will go in naturally as a human being questioning what's going to happen next season.
Really?
Yeah, because you can't not. I know what I'm like.
Oh yeah, I promise you I can.
That's fine. I'd love to be like that, but I will question what's going to happen next season, because I am naturally fearful of the future, and I don't want Liverpool to drop off, and it means so much to me. And if we get beat 3-1 in the next 3 games, I'll be absolutely gutted, and I will be thinking through the summer, fucking hell, what's going on? And that's just, I think that's, for me, that is a human reaction to stuff, but not after 1 game.
Fair enough, right then. We'll leave that one there in terms of the fringe players and what they did or didn't do, and if we learned anything. Let us know in the comment section your thoughts on that one.